Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled between rolling green hills and whispering forests, there lived a sweet little girl named Rosie. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a bright red hooded cloak that her grandmother had lovingly made for her. One sunny morning, Rosie's mother called her into the kitchen. "Rosie, dear," she said, "I need you to take this basket of goodies to your grandmother. She's feeling a bit under the weather, and I'm sure these treats will cheer her up." Rosie's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Of course, Mama, I'll go right away," she replied, taking the basket filled with freshly baked cookies, a jar of honey, and some juicy apples. With her red cloak swishing behind her, Rosie skipped along the forest path, humming a merry tune. The birds chirped, and the flowers nodded their heads as she passed by. Little did she know that someone was watching her from behind the trees. As Rosie wandered deeper into the woods, a sly wolf named Wilfred spotted her. His tummy rumbled with hunger, and he hatched a mischievous plan. "Ah, what a delicious-looking girl," he thought, licking his lips. "I'll trick her and gobble up all those goodies for myself." "Hello, little girl," the wolf called out, stepping onto the path. Rosie stopped, her eyes widening with surprise. "Who are you?" she asked, clutching her basket tightly. "I'm just a friendly wolf, dear," Wilfred said with a toothy grin. "And where might you be going with those scrumptious treats?" Rosie hesitated for a moment, but she remembered her manners. "I'm on my way to visit my grandmother. She's not feeling well, and I'm bringing her some goodies to make her feel better." "How kind of you," the wolf said, his eyes gleaming with greed. "But dear me, this forest can be quite dangerous for a little girl all alone. Why don't you take the shortcut through the thick bushes? It'll get you to your grandmother's house much faster." Rosie thought for a moment. She knew her mother had warned her about taking shortcuts through the forest, but the wolf seemed so nice. "Thank you, Mr. Wolf. That's very kind of you," she said, smiling. As Rosie skipped along the shortcut, the wolf raced ahead, his stomach growling with anticipation. But just as he reached Granny's cottage, he heard a loud knock on the door. "Who's there?" Granny called out, peering through the window. "It's me, Granny, Little Red Riding Hood," the wolf replied, trying to mimic Rosie's sweet voice. Granny frowned, her keen ears detecting something amiss. "But my dear, you don't sound like Rosie. What big ears you have," she exclaimed. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," the wolf replied quickly, trying to disguise his gruff voice. "And what big eyes you have," Granny said, growing suspicious. "All the better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied, his patience wearing thin. But just as the wolf was about to pounce, a rustling sound came from outside. Rosie burst into the cottage, her eyes wide with alarm. "Granny, Granny, I met a wolf in the forest and he tried to trick me," she cried, running to her grandmother's side. Granny hugged Rosie tightly, relief flooding her heart. "Oh, my brave girl, you're safe now," she said, smiling. The wolf, caught off guard, slunk away into the forest, his hunger forgotten in the face of such bravery. From that day on, Rosie never strayed from the path again. And whenever she visited her grandmother, she made sure to bring along a friend or two for company. As for the wolf, he learned that kindness and honesty are always the best choices. For in the end, goodness triumphs over greediness every time, and they all lived happily ever after.